My name is Max Carlis. My background is the last few years in the innovation labs at Lloyds Banking Group, but middle of last year I quit to go independent and work as a fintech consultant. So by all means follow up with me if you have any interest around that. More important though is my role tonight, frankly. I'm here to be on your side, you the audience. The whole point of having a host is to make sure you're going to get what you want from these brains at the front. So I'm going to make sure you go away with everything you want. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and introduce our speakers. The format for tonight is each speaker is going to have 5 minutes, maybe a little more, to introduce themselves, set up their shops before we go to a panel. I'll fire off with an initial round of a few questions. But please do have questions. In order to get what you want from tonight, there's two things I think are going to work. One of which is you have great questions, come forward with those. The other is I'm going to try and keep things short and try and keep our speakers down to bite-sized nuggets of information. Make sure you're loaded up with lots of good little takeaway messages. So at this stage, I think we'll kick off with Rob, because we have a presentation. So can we have a round of applause for our first speaker, please?
Thanks for that, Max. While we're working on some of the IT stuff there, and thanks for doing that, I just wanted to say thank you for our host, Michael, and for all of you to join us. Z asked me to come here tonight and talk a little bit about scale-ups. So I think we've got a good panel, a lot of different diverse backgrounds, a lot of people work in different areas. The area that I tend to work in is in scale-ups versus startups. Now, a lot of people talk about what are scale-ups versus startups, and you can't read any of that, can you? Because of what's on there and it's not out of focus. So I've got 75 slides for you. I'll start with this one. But this is a little bit about, well, actually, before I get into this, a little bit more about myself and Bluefire. Max, you look like you're about to say something to me.
No, I just have that face.
Okay, I like that face. That's a great face. Keep that face. Don't ever change. So my background, about 25 years in the tech industry, from Canada originally, thus my strange accent, but I live here now for more than 20 years. I've done business in more than 30 countries around the world, mostly in Europe, North America, and Asia Pac, but also a little bit in the Middle East and Latin America. So I come from a background of big tech companies, small tech companies, selling small tech companies to big tech companies, turning around companies. Did a few things with some due diligence on a number of M&A transactions, used to run a mobile operator across Europe, and now I run this business, Bluefire. What do we do? In a nutshell, I usually say that we help tech companies grow and we fix ones that don't. The size of companies we tend to work with, usually about 2 million turnover to about 150 million a year turnover, and that's, I think, fairly firmly in the scale-up space. So what's a startup versus a scale-up? This is something that we can talk about and debate. I'm sure lots of people will disagree with me, but that's why we're here, really. We can talk about that sort of stuff. Some of those things up there, when you're in the startup phase, it starts off with the things you can't read. It starts off with a great idea, right? So a lot of you guys, early stage companies, of course you've got a great idea. No one's going to build a business around something that's a crap idea, right? You start with a great idea, you might prototype something that you get to your minimum viable product. For those of you that are into your sort of lean startup terminology, your MVP stuff, and you get your lead customers. So you've got something, you've got a prototype, you've got a product, you've got your first customers, you're a great startup. Once you've done that, you got to scale up. Different skill sets, different challenges, different other things that we can talk about a little bit more today. You need to get repeat business, maybe repeat business in a specific vertical market if you're selling to businesses. You've got to expand into new vertical markets. You've got to expand into new routes to market, so new channels, direct sales versus channel sales, that sort of thing. And then looking into international expansion or new products on top of your existing product portfolio. So that sort of demarcation point is where I sort of put the sort of line between startups and scale-ups. We can talk about this and debate it, but that's just a little bit of calibration from my point of view. So my final of my 75 slides. What are the top 5 success factors? So Z also asked me to say, when you're working with scale-ups, what are some of the problems you have? And I didn't want to come up here and say, in a very negative way, here's all the problems that people have. So I tried to turn this into, what do you need to do to be successful and be more positive about it? But where this comes from is a lot of the challenges that I'm working with a lot of my clients to overcome. So, number one, and all these are pretty obvious, but I think the challenge is really about how you deal with these. Number one is making the customer the primary focus, both internally and externally. Now, yes, customer's important, customer's king, we've all heard those sorts of things. Where a lot of companies fall over is they miss out on the internal part of this. So you get a big IT group, and they have to build some big customer relationship management system or something else. They do, spend millions of dollars doing that. Then the sales guys have to use it in their day-to-day stuff to manage their pipeline, to manage their customer contacts, and they can't do it. It doesn't work. The entire business falls over, right? So that happens because you don't have an internal customer. The IT guys didn't see the sales team or other teams as internal customers, and they weren't focused on delivering what they need. So you have to solve a problem to your external customers. You have to deliver what they need, but you've really got to build that into your company as you grow internally as well. That's especially important for scale-ups. So the other thing is creating predictable if-then relationships in the business. So what do I mean by this? This is, you get into other problems, and people always talk about what's one of the big problems. Well, people run out of money. Why do they run out of the money? Well, yeah, they spend too much. Of course, that's the obvious answer. But the reason people run out of money is usually because they haven't created predictable if-then relationships in the business. So to give you an idea, you're going to hire a new salesperson. Well, if I hire a new salesperson, then how much are they going to deliver into the business as far as new sales over what time period? If you're not keeping an eye on that, you're just hiring people and raising your cost base without bringing any business into the business. If I sell something, how much profit do I make? You got to keep an eye on that and how you do that. If I invest in new software developers, how much more can I output from a product point of view? So these things are all very obvious questions, but a lot of things that people don't keep an eye on. People make assumptions that if I hire a bunch of salespeople, lots of customers will magically appear. If I hire lots of developers, my products will naturally come out the door on time. It doesn't always happen that way. That's one of the key parts of making sure that business is successful and you don't run out of money. Number 3 is embedding public accountability throughout the business. So again, accountability is a key thing, but I think the public aspect of this is actually very important as well, right? You put up a sales leaderboard and show what your salespeople are doing. When you're looking at the executive teams and the people running your companies as you go from a startup to a scale-up, is the executive team talking about what they're doing for the business? Do they talk about what progress they're making towards goals? Or is it all behind closed doors? The more public it is, the more people feel they're bought into it. And the more you can keep people bought into it, the more you can keep the focus on your business. Number 4, recruiting and retaining the right people and getting rid of the wrong ones. So recruitment, of course, we all need to recruit, but there's recruiting the wrong people and the right ones. Retention is very important. I've got a couple clients right now. They've done a lot of mergers and acquisitions. One of the things they're not doing, and I'm helping them with, is actually identifying the key people in those acquisitions and making sure they stay, because the good people are the first ones to go. That's a big challenge. And here's the thing that no one ever wants to talk about, is getting rid of the wrong ones. And as you grow your scale up, and as you expand your business, one of the harsh realities is there are going to be people that aren't the right fit, and you do have to make the difficult decisions and deal with that as a challenge. And finally, is aligning the organization from top to bottom with the goals of the business. Now, this is easy when you're 10 people or you're 20 people, but once you get to be 100 people or 500 people, this is very, very difficult. And if you're in a fast-growing company, as many of you are in the fintech space, this is going to be a real challenge, particularly once you get beyond probably about 20 people or you have offices overseas. A lot of executive team meetings I've sat in, there's a lot of things that happen, some great ideas, a lot of real things about driving the business. People assume that it's going to happen by osmosis, that everyone just understands that and goes out and executes on it. This is something that a lot of companies, as they expand, have employees working in the dark, and you really got have to have everyone lined up to actually execute as a business. That was all I want to say. It's a bit of calibration before we get into other discussions. Hopefully that was useful, and looking forward to talking about and debating some of those points as we go forward. Thanks.
Cool. Can we get a round of applause?